Worldwide Podcast.
Hey family, this is Paula G. I'm Paula G. And this is the late night special edition of Positive Power XXI. So glad that you all have joined us. Hope you've had a wonderful day or about to have a wonderful day, depending on what time you are listening to this podcast. Blessings to each and every one of you. We want to give a shout out and a thank you to our sponsors for today's show. Pastor Paul Kelly. We want to make sure that each and every one of you support him and tune in on Tuesday evenings at 9:15 for Pastor's Time Bible Study, and also on Saturday mornings, Next Man Up, 10 a.m. Next Man Up with Pastor Paul Kelly. Also, he has his Bible colleges up and coming, y'all, and we're going to have more information about that as that unfolds. Also, make sure you check out his book on Amazon. It's Homelessness in the Church. Wow, I didn't know that. You can get that in paperback form or Kindle form as well. A powerful book, powerful story. So you want to make sure that you reach out and support our wonderful Pastor Paul Kelly and First Lady Marcia Kelly. Also, our sponsor for this show today, Miss Daynette Watson, and you can visit her website, DaynetteWatson.com. That's DANET Watson.com for a total weight loss health program and plan. So once again, we want to thank our sponsors so very much for their sponsorship of this special edition of the Late Night Positive Power XXI with yours truly, Paula G. And today I have with me a gentleman who I'm excited to have this conversation with. He is a councilman candidate for the 4th District, Baltimore County, Mr. Derrick A. Burnett, Sr. How are you today, sir?
I'm great, Paula. It's a pleasure, privilege, and a blessing to be here amongst you today.
And I would say the same. Likewise. So tell our audience a bit about Derrick Burnett. We want to know a little bit about Derrick Burnett. Who is Derrick Burnett? And on between June 14th and the 21st, which is early voting here in the Baltimore area, and Election Day on Tuesday, June 26th, why should I push that button, pull that lever, make that selection? But first of all, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Oh, definitely. Let's go back to talk about who I am, and what was my basis, and my foundation for my success. I'm a product of a 2-parent household, which I think is mandatory. Not mandatory, but it was during our time. It was one of those things that our community was made up of holistically. My father was in the military, retired Army, Sergeant Major. My mother worked for the government. I'm the oldest of three sons.
So you're a military brat.
I'm a military brat. I've lived in about, I'm going to say, 13 different areas during the course of his career. I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. My youngest brother was born in Maine. My middle brother was born in Georgia. So we had a staunch military background, highly disciplined, highly favored.
Well, and what was his rank again?
Sergeant Major. He retired as Sergeant Major.
Sergeant Major doesn't play.
No nonsense.
Not at all. Not at all.
But it served us well because all of us were successful personally in our own individual endeavors. All of us have families. All of us own our own homes. All of us have our own careers. It's unfortunate he passed about 13 years ago, but the fact remains that he had a definite effect on who we are, whom's we are, and how we related to our community.
Where were some of the places that you lived as a child? I know there's a lot, because they have that saying. What branch of service was he?
He's Army.
He's Army. So you can plug in any branch, but the saying is the Army home is where the Army sends you.
Pretty much. We lived in Maine, New Jersey, Ohio, Georgia.
Just kind of all over
pretty
the
much
U.S.
Pretty much up and down the East Coast. At one time, we were supposed to go to Okinawa, but the housing was backed up.
Yes.
Like 18 months. And, Now, I spent that time in my grandmother's house back in Cincinnati, so that was great, too.
Right.
Because I got to interact more with my grandmother and grandfather as a young child,
right,
which had a great influence on my development as well.
Right, and I think that's important to emphasize as a, being around family, but also being part of a military family and having moved that much. One of the benefits of, we use a term of endearment. We say Army brat or military brat. We do use it as a term of endearment. Also is to you have a foundation of diversity and understanding of different people and different cultures and different points of view, which is very instrumental in the path and the journey that you're on, today as well.
That definitely was the case. We just happened to have the opportunity. His last designated point of assignment was Baltimore, and I've been here in Baltimore over 40 years. So I call Baltimore my home, even though I was born in Cincinnati. I call Baltimore my home. And you're right. I was always, when I was younger, let's say up to 14, I was always the new kid in the block.
Right. And you always had to adjust.
You always had to adjust. You always had to adapt. But like you say, you always had to interact with different cultures and different opportunities. Different individuals and be able to blend.
Right.
So
and think on your feet, because you're in different environments, and what's important in one environment, what's a priority in one environment may not be the case in another environment. So you have to be able to be flexible and open. And
right.
Yeah.
Right. And that served me well, because it gave me an opportunity to be able to listen more.
Yes.
To my surroundings, you know, and so I can adapt accordingly. So that was great. I mean, we first moved here in Baltimore. We lived in Dundalk for like 2 years.
Oh yeah, I know Dundalk.
On the other side of town. It was closer to his point of work at Fort Hollyburg before it was shut down. My mother was working in Social Security, so she was making a drive every day, through the tunnel, and we know that wasn't gonna last long.
Right. So mama wasn't doing that for a minute.
My father always taught me, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah. Words of wisdom. So all this wisdom you got at a young age.
Yeah. So we relocated to Woodlawn, 5 minutes away from her place of employment.
Business.
And I grew up in a great neighborhood. And when I say great, I mean it was awesome. Known as Woodmore.
Yeah.
And it was a community built of hardworking families, two-parent households, and to this day I'm connected with members of my community. And I left physically living in Woodmore, let's say back in, 84, 85. But I still have roots there, because that's where I grew up. That's where I met a lot of the people that I know still today. I still know their parents that lived there. I know some people who've lived there over 40 or 50 years. It was one of the first, I'm going to say, major enclaves on the suburbs of Baltimore, right on the edge, where you had African Americans settle. And I think it was because of the close proximity to Social Security, which was a major employer in that particular community.
Yeah.
But Woodmore has generated and produced professionals in every aspect, in every career. I bet you I can name somebody that's doing anything, from an astronaut, doctors, lawyers, financiers, stockbrokers, engineers, architects. I mean, I could just go through my Rolodex. Somebody from the neighborhood. Right. So that was a great side of the community, and it gave me a great foundation. And even though academically and athletically, we were always touted, let's say, as county boys when we was playing basketball. I'm a big basketball fan. And we would always play guys from the city, and I guess they would try to come out and test our mettle. Right. And there's many times that send them back in town. We say 5 new and a better crew.
I like that. 5 new and a better crew.
Yeah, y'all get back in the car, go back in town. But I had some great times. I met a lot of people. Sports was something that exposed me to many sides of the city. Playing sports, you get to meet a lot of different people. Just all over the city.
So you really, just in listening to your upbringing and your background, you really have some wonderful, strong values as your foundation. Your father being military, learning discipline, no nonsense. I would dare say him demonstrating how to operate as a man under pressure under certain circumstances, as well. Your mom, a working spouse and a military spouse, and demonstrating also, discipline and structure and hard work, time management, all those things. You also mentioned listening, and as a military child, developing, listening skills and being able to be flexible and to adjust and adapt pretty much on a dime, because sometimes those deployments or PCS moves can kind of come back to back. So being able to really be flexible, as far as that is concerned. And then your Woodlawn-Woodmere community, just the closeness and
Yes.
knowing community and understanding community and what goes on in the community and just the heartbeat of the community. So some really good foundation.
It was great. It's part of my campaign platform.
Yes.
It was that unity within the community will elevate us all.
Yeah.
And that's something that we have.
Right.
And unfortunately, I don't think that's something that we have now.
Right now,
and I think we're kind of dispersed and divided in so many different ways.
And we've got to kind of
and we got to come back
together.
I say we got to recircle the wagons. Come back to what's worked and proven.
Right.
And
we're going to expound on that on the
second
second half of this.
Yeah, that sounds great.
We're going to expound on that. So you had a strong background, a strong upbringing. What about your school years or college years, 20s, 30s?
Yeah, I as I was saying, at the time I had these aspirations of playing basketball. I played some college basketball on the community college level, but I was always a great student. So I called myself the ultimate student athlete. I went to community college at Baltimore County Community College. Excellent. I played there. I got a degree in architectural engineering. Then I transferred to Hampton University. At the time, it was Hampton Institute.
All right, yes. I still have trouble with that. Hampton Institute, Hampton University.
That's another story for another time. Yes. That's a show in itself.
Yes.
I got a professionally accredited degree in architecture. Bachelor of Architecture was a 5-year program at Hampton University, which served me well. Realistically, that's architecture is the ultimate STEM career, and I say that because not just STEM but STEAM. Architecture is the study of technology, engineering, art, math, and music combined.
Wow.
So you have STEAM, but you got STEM, but you have to add STEAM in there because realistically, a great building has a musical rhythm to it. You could look at it vertically, you could look at it horizontally. A great design building has a rhythm to it. Music is involved there.
There's that rhythm.
Definitely.
And we're going to continue that conversation on the flip side about that rhythm, about that structure. We're going to talk a bit about your campaign, what your platform is, and why we should vote for you in the coming week, almost week and a half.
Wow, less than a week.
Than a week.
Days. Early voting starts June 14th.
We are having a conversation here today on this late night special edition of Positive Power XXI. We are talking with Councilman candidate for the 4th District, Baltimore County, Mr. Derrick A. Burnett Sr. I'm Paula G., and we will be back in a moment.
You're listening to ROYCE Live Worldwide Podcast.
Something
rise. It's time to realize it's just a trip. Ow, it's just a trip. We must understand. You help me to pray. And believe. I know things will get better. If you help me to pray. And believe. I know things will get better. If you help me to pray. And believe. I know things will get better. If you help me to pray. And believe. I know things will get better. Things are gonna get better. Things are gonna get things are gonna get better if you help me to pray. Things are gonna get things are gonna get things are gonna get better if you help me to pray. Billy ready. I'm feeling it. So much better.
You are listening to DERRICK Worldwide Podcast.
And we are back. If you are just joining us, I am Paula G, and this is a late night special edition of Positive Power XXI. And the sponsors for today's episode are our beloved Pastor Paul Kelly and First Lady Marcia. Make sure that you tune in Tuesday nights for powerful Bible study by Pastor Kelly at 9:15. Also, he's back at it on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. with Next Man Up. This is a busy man, let me tell you. He's in the process of birthing a Bible college. There's going to be some great opportunities for you to pursue studies in Bible study and theology. And also, he's an author. He's a busy man. He's an author. His book, Homelessness in the Church. Wow, I didn't know that. It's available in paperback and on Kindle. So please make sure you come out and support our Pastor Kelly with the many wonderful things that he's doing. Also, Danette Watson, our total weight loss health program. You can visit her at DANET Watson.com. Make sure you check her out as well. We thank them so very much. At the top of the show, we opened with Men of Worship. Their song, Call on God, ministered to us at the top of the show. And then we just listened to our very own Mr. Dwayne Gott with Help Me to Pray. And we have been talking with councilman candidate for the 4th District, Baltimore County, Mr. Derrick A. Burnett Sr. And prior to the break, he gave us a little bit of background, how he's the product of a 2-parent household. His father was in the military, so, you know, those of you listening who are military, he's a military brat, you know. We like our military brats. His mom also worked for Social Security, so he had a good, strong foundation from his family and a lot of values that he learned from his parents about discipline and time management, and from his father, just, you know, what it means to be able to think on your feet and working under pressure, being able to stay focused and working under pressure. And as a military child moving around from station to station, learning to be flexible, learning diversity, learning different communities, moving from culture to culture, and also being a good listener, you know, because as a military child, when you're moving around a lot, you got to be able to listen and absorb the area around you. And then the community that he once lived in, Woodlawn community, just understanding the dynamics of the community. Woodmore, yes, Woodmore, I'm sorry. Yeah. And just understanding the community. So just a great foundation of skills and talents and gifts and values. So that brings us to the second part of our program here is, you know, once again, Derrick, between June 14th and June 21st is early voting here in the Baltimore area. Election day is June 26th. Speak to the voters and tell us why we should go and...
Okay. Getting back to thinking on your feet, my father taught that to me very early. I'm a chess player. He taught me how to play chess, or at least set up the board when I was 5.
Yes.
So I would watch him and his friends play chess. I learned how to play chess. So being a chess player, you have to think 2 or 3 steps ahead to be an ultimately
I like that.
good chess player. And I've said that in one of my candidates forums. I'm the type of candidate that's going to be a chess player, somebody that plays chess, not just regular chess. I'm talking about 3-dimensional chess. 3-dimensional chess, you have 3 different boards. So you have to think vertically as well as horizontally, and that goes hand in hand with who I am and my profession of being an architect. You have to think vertically as well as horizontally to make things work. And I'm a proactive type candidate, and I'm not a reactive type candidate. And I say I'm not going to be playing checkers. I'm not going to wait for somebody else to make a move for me to make a move. And realistically, our community is so far behind as it relates academically, educationally, environmentally. We have to have candidates in place that can think 2 or 3 steps ahead, so that we can position ourselves as a community to be sustainable and successful. So with that being said, I transitioned from Hampton. I worked 12 years with the Army Corps of Engineers as a project architect. I was a civil engineering officer in the Air National Guard. I designed and managed one of the largest projects in the Baltimore District engineering division of the Army Corps of Engineers while I was in my tenure. It was like a $30 million, 230,000 square foot facility. I've done about projects in about 8 different countries throughout the world. So I have a regional perspective. I have an international perspective. I have a professional perspective that I want to bring back to the community.
Okay.
I'm not just talking to be talking.
Right.
I'm talking, and
from
I actually
experience.
walk the walk from experience.
Right.
My brother has an IT company. All of us was pretty in tune academically as it relates to math.
Right.
We used to call him Rain Man.
Right.
So he had an IT company that at one time employed 800 people. So during the transition of me leaving my government job to start my own little design build company, I've worked on about 8 different churches in the community. I've done some schools, some custom homes, child care centers, things of that nature.
Right.
But those are projects that they come and go. Realistically and economically, for our community to build sustainable wealth, we have to be involved with things that are residual. And I'm trying to bring that information, knowledge, and past performance to the community, to the children, to the adults of the community. We got to have more than jobs. I've always been told a job stands for just over broke. You got to go back to work. You may not like that job, but you got to sustain yourself. You have to be... you got to live, so you got to do what you got to do to survive. Right. But when you're in a career that you're passionate about, that you feel adamantly about, it's not a job. It's a passion. Right. So I convey that to a lot of the kids and the young adults that I interact with on the mentoring levels. Right. And I do a lot of mentoring as well in the community.
Excellent.
Where I talk to young kids and I try to give them direction and some purpose, and try to just make them become more awakened as to what their potential is and what their passion should be. Right. Don't let just anybody push you into something because that's something they wanted you to do. Right. I remember when I first started, I told my older cousins, some of them, I wanted to be an architect. And they didn't know an architect. So they didn't have anything associated with it. They would always tell me, you ain't going to be no architect. But I would never let that disturb me or discourage me. Right,
because you're actually in a position now to be an architect in a sense that once, if the voters go and do the right thing, you will be in position to build, in the community.
Or community.
So what are some of the things
on a grand level versus on an individual's perspective?
So what are some of the things that you hope to achieve?
Well, realistically, I've got 5 campaign platforms. Naturally, we got to address community and school safety. We got to do, I say, corporate and small business reinvestment. I have a big thing about corporate reinvestment where I believe corporations have a a responsibility to reinvest in the communities of which they reside, and a lot of corporations aren't doing that. And they initiated that in Baltimore as a result of the Freddie Gray riots. They have this program that John Hopkins initiated called Be Local, and Be Local has raised about $85 million in the last couple of years from corporations donate monies back to the Baltimore City area to provide co-op programs, after-school programs, summer internships, and things of that nature for people of the community to interact, to feel a part, to develop some sense of hope. The riots was a result of frustrations and a lack of hope.
Right.
So we have to extend that, throughout the nation, not just Baltimore City, not just Baltimore County. But we have to extend that throughout the nation, make them be responsible. I know, for instance, as a result of the recent tax cut that our president initiated, I know one corporation in the area was generating like $386 million every quarter. Now they have a 21% tax break. That 21% increased their profits, their bottom line, to like $440 million in a quarter. So they increased it by like $80 million. You got $80 million per quarter. That's an additional $320 million that they have access to.
That's
right.
Yeah, that's overwhelming.
That a percentage of that realistically should come back to the community.
Right. They're
taking the money and running it.
Right.
They're taking that money and reinvesting in other opportunities for them to make more money. But to me, wouldn't it make sense if you took some of that money that you just got a tax break on to reinvest back in the communities in which you reside, create after-school programs, summer co-ops, summer jobs, internships, things of that nature.
Because you also talked about educational enrichment as well.
Educational enrichment, and
economic empowerment.
Right. So those things to me seem like it's kind of no nonsense, but until you bring it to their attention, as a candidate, I want to bring those type of things to their attention. I'm not one of them kind of guys that go along to get along just to say I'm a part of the team.
Right.
And realistically, I think we're in the position now where we're trading titles and let's say
just a lot of what's
symbolism.
Going on.
We're trading titles and symbolism to say that we're in a position of power, but we're still powerless.
So speak to the voters. The voters are listening. Speak to the voters, and they're watching. Speak to the voters and tell them what it is that you look to do for them if they vote for you. What your vision is.
First and foremost, we have to incorporate educational enrichment.
Okay.
I say that because a lot of our kids are being educated, but they're not adequately being educated to adapt to the needs of our community. On the IT side, I used to do business development with my brother. Right now in the cybersecurity industry, there's about 800,000 unfilled positions in cybersecurity, and they're projected to be 1.5 million in the next 3 years, which therefore you creating a cybersecurity army, all right, of employees.
Right.
Our kids aren't being exposed to the industry at all. You can go get a certification, an A+ certification that will introduce you to the IT information systems, and make about $50,000 or $60,000 in about 8 months.
So you'd be looking at ways in which our kids can be exposed to.
I'm looking at ways to incorporate some of the contacts that I've initiated and made relationships with during the course of me doing business development with him. Companies like Northrop Grumman, companies like Lockheed Martin, SAEC, some of the contractors of the huge government agencies, got to bring them back to our community and say, look, we're going to develop this cybersecurity after-school program here in this Liberty Road corridor. And instead of us always generating and developing, let's say, entertainers and athletes, we want to make a real world Wakanda out here.
Right.
Real world Wakanda.
Yes.
Where we can have kids aspire. Okay, it's okay to be a computer science technologist or a computer science engineer. And we have a lot of engineers. Baltimore has one of the greatest engineering programs at Morgan State University in the country.
Right.
But we just need to expose more of our children to that, more of our adults to that.
And give them that exposure.
Give them that exposure.
we have a couple minutes. Our time goes so fast.
Wow,
always.
So you have to talk all day.
Talk to us a little bit about cultural and generational collaboration.
Okay, cultural and generational collaboration. In our particular district, there's like 10 different cultures that live in our district. From all over the world. From Africa, from India, from Asia, from the Middle East.
Right.
And the only thing realistically that ties us together is money. We don't come together on one platform to do anything as a community. And if we did come together, let's say if there's 10 different cultures, you see my 10 fingers, right? We're all moving in our separate ways, going our own way, trying to make a way for our own culture. But if we came together, look at this, we came together as, that's a powerful entity that we need to bring together and try to create something together.
So you're looking at ways to bring all of those together.
Bring all of those together.
Yes. Excellent.
And on the, let's say the generational side, generationally, we're separated.
Yeah.
Our seniors are separated from our children if you're not directly related to them. Some of our seniors are afraid to speak to 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds from fear of backlash. When I was growing up, there's no way that an adult would be afraid to speak to a child.
Right.
And nowadays, you have adults afraid to say anything to children, and that's not good.
So you're looking to change that and close that gap.
Reconnect that. Because like you said, when I was living with my grandmother, my grandfather, that's added wisdom that's added to a child's life.
And it's really huge, that generational collaboration, because it's not only within each culture, but generational, as you were saying, with the cultural collaboration, the generational collaboration that comes along with that as well, because different cultures view the generations differently. They interact with the generations differently. So just it sounds like it's a multitude of
it really is.
Meshing and bringing together.
And getting back to the cultural. Our kids got to learn how to speak more than one language.
That's huge. I was brought up, yes, that's huge.
I spoke Spanish. I spoke a little French. I mean, I was learning a little French and English.
Yeah. And being a military child,
being in the military.
I
went to Peru and South America on one of my deployments. I ended up with a better room as a young captain because I spoke the language to the receptionist at the desk. And the colonel did.
And I believe, and I could be wrong because, Paula G doesn't know everything. But I believe we may be the only, one of the few, or maybe the country where the majority of people are not bilingual. You're talking about your South America, your African continent, Europe. Majority of people, in these different parts of the world speak at least their own language and a second language of maybe neighboring country. Of course, a lot of countries speak English as well, but I think we're one of the few that are just monolingual.
We're behind, especially since technology has connected the world. We used to be like, if you were going to college, you was trying to get a job, you was competing with those in your particular region for that particular job. Unfortunately, today, via the internet, you're competing against competition from all over. And our kids have to be informed, and they have to embrace that when they apply themselves academically. They have to understand they're competing against the world.
Right. So can you tell us a little bit, and I think we have a little bit more time. Tell us a bit about, because we're going to get a little technical here, because these things are important. Okay, early voting between June 14th and June 21st. Election day is Tuesday, June 26th.
Right.
And you're running for the 4th district, but I understand there are several districts here.
There's actually 7 county councilmanic districts in Baltimore County. But realistically, there's only one minority councilmanic district where predominantly the population is minority.
Okay.
And it happens just to be the one that I'm running for.
Okay, and that would be the 4th district. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And voters can come out. The early voting is the 14th through the 21st.
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Early voting.
Okay, so we can
go
go
week.
Before work. We can go after work. And
10 o'clock. It's not before work, but they can come at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
And that lasts until 8 o'clock.
Okay.
But during the actual election, I think you can go before work. I think it starts at 7. During the actual election on the 26th.
So, usually it's at
go before work.
Yeah, and we just urge people to plan accordingly because, a lot of times I hear, oh, the weather, I couldn't go vote. Oh, my boss wouldn't let me off. And I believe employers have to let people off to go vote. Yeah, that's true. So we got to think ahead. We got to plan accordingly.
Right. They go to that chest fight again.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We really have to be, strategic about this if we want change. And I know a lot of people were probably discouraged by the last, our last major election, but we cannot let that discourage us. We cannot sit home. We cannot say we're not going to vote. We cannot say it doesn't matter. Right. Because it all does.
Yeah, you can see it does matter. Where we are today. It definitely.
Yes.
Anything else I can expand upon?
Yes. Well, we want to make sure the voters know, is there a website that they can go? Because, sometimes people just don't know where to go, what to do.
You can go to my webpage. It's www.vote, VOTEDAB Senior.
Okay.
2018. Vote. DAB Senior 2018.
Okay, and then you also have Twitter.
I have Twitter. I have an email account, and actually I'm on Facebook.
Okay, so your Twitter is hashtag vote VOTE D as in David, A as in Alpha, B as in Bravo, S as in Sam, R 2018.
Right,
and that's the Twitter, and then Facebook is Derrick Burnett.
Yes.
DERRICK B as in Bravo, URNETT. Right. And the elections that we have coming up, and I think people don't maybe understand the importance of, for lack of a better word, I call them the smaller elections. People come
Council,
out for people come out for the
local.
There you go, community local.
Very important.
Because that's the foundation for how people wind up. Most people wind up in the White House. It starts at these
grassroots levels.
The grassroots levels, the grassroots level.
I'm going to be honest. I don't have aspirations to go to the White House, but I would like to do whatever I can do to help benefit our community.
Yes,
create
and to build
a sustainable solution that's going to last beyond my lifetime, beyond my children's lifetime, and beyond their children's lifetime. Because realistically, when you design a building, it usually lasts about 100 years.
Right.
50 years. Even though I only get paid once. I don't know how they let that happen.
I know, right?
Back in the day, I'm like, man, what was y'all thinking about? Yeah, I even asked one of my professors that. He looked at me all confusing. I was like, man, well, anyway, moving right along.
Right. I got you. I'm going
to design a building that's going to stand for 100 years. They're going to pay me once. Okay.
So anyway, we got to regroup on that one.
Regroup and build a sustainable community. Right now, I don't think our community is sustainable. Realistically, unfortunately, the way our community was designed, even going back to the Red Line days, the way they kind of pushed African Americans in certain parts of the community. They allowed us to become bedroom communities. When you become a bedroom community, you really don't have a sustainable platform because there's no corporations
that's interesting. I never thought about that.
Or within that particular thing.
Right.
So you can bring in, let's say, huge restaurants that's going to operate during the day. Most restaurants operate on a lunchtime and dinner.
That's
clientele.
True. You're right. Yeah.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you don't have a huge corporation within your community to help sustain that restaurant during those lunchtime hours and those dinner hours, you won't have a restaurant, a sit-down restaurant in the community. A lot of times our community don't understand that.
Right.
But we need to come together and demand those type of things. I already told somebody that got my candidate that I was running against. We have a shopping center in the community. Or a potential mall, and they've already got it established. They've already picked their stores, but on the let's say the MBE, the business side of things, even though it was a private entity, I felt like they should have demanded minority participation in that project. We're talking about a $110 million project,
right?
And that it takes to build, and they're going to generate hundreds of millions of dollars once it's built. And we got a community of like 30% minorities in our community. The MBE participation level is, let's say, right now it's established at 15%. Before the state is established at 25%.
Right.
Now, why is that?
Right. So we got work to do. We got work to do.
And I'm only a 3-month candidate, and I figured that out.
Yes.
And the guy running against it been in office for 3 years and hasn't addressed that. So that's one of the issues I have.
Yes. Well, and it's like we said at the top of the show. That with the background that you have and the foundation that you have and the skills, the experience that you bring to the platform, that our voters between June 14th and June 21st are early voting, and Election Day on June 26th, that Councilman, who's now a candidate for the 4th District of Baltimore County, Derrick A. Burnett Sr., those of you who are in the 4th District of Baltimore County, do the right thing. Do the right thing. We want to thank you for being with us today. We want to thank our sponsors, Danette Watson. You can visit her, DANET, Watson.com for total weight loss health program, and also our Pastor Kelly, Pastor Paul Kelly. Great Bible teaching on Tuesday evenings at 9:15 and p.m. and also on Saturday mornings. Next Man Up at 10 a.m. He's got an up-and-coming Bible college to be announced. Stay tuned for that. Also, his book, Homelessness in the Church. Wow, I didn't know that. Wow. It's available in paperback and Kindle. Thank you so much to our guests this evening. Derrick A. Burnett Sr. shouts out to Batman himself, Jerry Royce Live. I'm Paula G. This is a late night special edition of Positive Power 21. Can you feel the power?
Can you feel the power? Can you feel the power? Feel the power of Double XI.
Positive Power 21.org Internet Radio.
You are listening to Jerry Royce Live Worldwide Podcast. Can you feel the power?
Calling God. Calling God.
Each night before I lay my head down, I do pray that if I should die before I wake, I pray to the Lord my soul to take. And when the morning comes, I won't forget that He's the only one. Sometimes when I kneel and pray, I can't find the words to say, I call on God. Sometimes when I kneel, I can't find the words to say, I call on God.
Calling God.
Now don't try and judge me by the things you hear me say. If it hadn't been for the Lord, I don't know where I'd be today. He turned my life around. I was lost, but now I'm found. So when I drop down to my knees and pray, I call on His holy name. Sometimes I can't find the words to say. I call on the name of Jesus.
Calling God.
Sometimes when I need Jesus, I can't find the words.
You are listening to Jerry Royce Live Worldwide Podcast.